Unless my attorney tells me, Daniel, there's no way that you can do that, I'm like, no, we're having the conversations around how do I get this done and how do I grow this? Lenders are shady. Lenders don't want realtors to know how much money they make. We're in a very much a one-sided relationship with these lenders, right?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Joe Herrera in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, coming to you live on the TLA Mastermind and podcast. So today I want to talk a little bit about ancillary products in real estate, the necessity for them, how to evaluate the opportunity, and why you, as a real estate professional, should be looking into adding ancillary products into your business. So just to kind of get started, let's talk a little bit about what ancillary means. Getting into real estate for me was a singular business idea. My goal was just to help people purchase and sell properties as a traditional real estate agent. I did that for, 14, 15 years. We always had ancillary relationships, meaning we had mortgage companies and title companies and home warranty companies and property inspectors and pest control and insurance agents and everything that we referred our business to, but it was never in a highly, effective way. And so today, my guy, Daniel Dixon, is going to be joining me. He is a master at the ancillary product game. He has built out a huge revenue source for himself and his team with his insurance or with his mortgage product. With that, Daniel, welcome.
What up, brother? Good to see you, man.
You too. How are you?
I'm doing great. We got some rain and some stuff here, and it's shitty, but I'm doing well, man.
It's been raining in Vegas for like a month. It's awesome.
I've been seeing about that crazy flooding and stuff, huh?
On the Strip, yeah. When it doesn't rain for 4 years, and all of a sudden it starts raining, we just don't know how to handle it as a city. And I don't understand the roofing issues that some of the casinos are facing, but it is what it is. We'll take the water.
Right. I was supposed to be in Michigan at a Jeff Glover has an event every year, a training event.
Yeah.
And I tested positive for COVID after I got back from the DR. So that's why I have to isolate and play that game now.
Yeah. So I'm going down to the Dominican Republic in October on a humanitarian service trip.
Oh, nice.
It's like humanitarian service trip for spoiled people. It's like in the morning we go like paint a school, and in the afternoon we eat lobster and sit by the pool. So it's like
that's not too
it's bad. The best of both worlds. So talk to me a little bit your origin story. You and I know each other pretty well, but like, who is Daniel Dixon? Where were you raised? You had kind of a cool college experience. I think your life has probably taken a couple of pivots. So For those who don't know you, who is Daniel Dixon?
So I have a pretty unique journey. So we won't talk about my childhood very much. We'll just talk about my professional life. So
sweet.
My first sales job, I was selling timeshares and, learning NLP, early, learning Zig Ziglar sales techniques and things like that.
So define NLP really quick for those who've never heard that term.
Neuro-linguistic programming, how you say the words, body language, breathing patterns, how do you connect with people very, very quickly. So if you think about timeshare presentation, right? Like I get to meet you, shake your hand, and try to sell you a $40,000 timeshare in 90 minutes.
That you're never gonna use.
You're never gonna use. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So after that, I got into the mortgage industry. I was working for a company called Lending Tree Loans before the market crashed. So I have a little bit of a mortgage background. I grew up with a single mother of 3 kids. We never really had money, never owned homes or things like that. So I remember going through training. It was a 6-week training, and I'm like, wait a minute, I can't get a credit card. I'm like 20 years old. I can't get a credit card, but yet you're giving people loans with no income and no assets. Like, what's going on? I don't understand this.
So this is like 06, 07?
Yeah, this was beginning of 07 till like the end of 08, about 2 years.
Whenever somebody says pre-recession, it just sets me right back to like 06, 07.
Absolutely. Awesome. It was a unique time as a young man trying to like figure out my way and what I want to do in life, and really liked loans. And then that faucet dried up really quick. So then my wife, now like girlfriend at the time, and I just decided, we looked on a map and said, we like to snowboard, minimum wage is decent. Just move to Colorado and go be ski bums, graduate from college, and then figure it out. And so
you started college. So you played football at University of Utah. Yeah.
I played there just for a minute. I was there. I went to junior college in California, then went to the University of Utah. I was like 20 years old, 19 years old, and ended up breaking my hand. And I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to the league. Like, I'm done.
So 7, this is post Urban Meyer. Was it Whittingham? Did you play for it?
Yeah, it was Whittingham I played for. It was the year after Urban, actually.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So it was Brian Smith was the quarterback.
Yeah.
It's a great city. Like, I had a lot of fun there.
Solid food in Salt Lake. Salt Lake's like one of the most underrated food cities in America. People don't know, but man, they've got some good food there.
There was a pizza place that we went to on campus. It's like downstairs in like
the basement. Yeah, dude, I was there on September. I was there on September 11th.
Oh,
so 9/11/2001. I was in Salt Lake. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, called me like, "Hey, are you watching the TV?" It like woke me up. I was at my buddy's house. Turned it on. The world shut down. We didn't know what to do. We drove to that. It's called something like Pies. What?
Yeah,
I can't remember what it's called. And so, anyways, we went to that basement pizza place the night of 9/11. Everybody.
Oh wow.
Pizza was solid though.
Pizza was really good. It was unique. It was unique to me from California, and then not being able to get alcohol past like 7 p.m. on a Saturday, so had to adjust to some of those rules.
Cultural rules, yeah. All right, so you moved to Denver. You finished college. The idea was to snowboard.
Yeah, and so the thought that we had was one of my really good friends worked for a company called Eli Lilly in pharmaceutical sales, and he was actually selling Cialis and something else at the time. And
I got to know him pretty well professionally and like socially.
Right. So he took me on a quota trip that he did once, and we stayed at this like 5-star resort in Key Biscayne, and just these guys are printing money. I'm like, dude, this is it. Like, what's my barrier of entry? I got to get a college degree. Like, done. So graduated from college.
A pharmaceutical rep.
Pharmaceutical. That was my dream. Graduated from college, couldn't get hired anywhere doing anything. So started working at Staples selling staplers. It was the lowest part of my life, to be honest.
This is post. This is post timeshare.
Yeah, this is 2013 now.
Okay.
At this time, 2012, 2013. Yeah. And then my brother was working for this really cool startup called Trulia. And so he's like, "Hey D, like, I know you hate where you're at. Like, let's go do this. I'm selling internet lead generation to agents and blah, blah, blah." And I'd already worked in a situation where I was on the phone, like call center, doing loans, or I'm on the phone constantly calling people. So went and tried it out, crushed it. Became a top producer in the company before they were bought by Zillow, and really got to learn this internet lead generation thing. Internet lead generation, internet lead conversion, follow-up systems, where to place your marketing dollars, so on and so forth. So I got a peek behind the curtain before internet lead generation was cool on how to do it and how to do it at a really, really high level. So that took me to get licensed, talk to a lot of agents across the country, why I should get live, making agents ridiculous amount of money, lining them up with closings. And I'm like, dude, I got to get licensed and go do this. Like, it's going to be a lot more than me hitting my quota at Trulia. Got licensed, and then 2014 was the first full year in real estate, and I didn't know how to sell a house, but I knew how to communicate with people. I knew how to spend my marketing dollars wisely and convince people to work with me. And that was the beginning and the launch of the real estate career.
Okay. So started with mortgage, got into real estate. So walk me through this a little bit. Like, how did you balance those two as, somewhat competing businesses? There's some liability issues when you're on both sides of a deal. Like what were some of the Zen learnings or the things you learned early on that work and don't work when you're trying to balance ancillary products at a company?
So as we kept growing the team, we kept running into trouble with lenders. Like, lenders are not following through. We're trying to create these systems and these processes, and you can only scold somebody so much before you're just like, fuck, I'm gonna go build this thing on my own. Right. So everyone told me again, you can't do it. You can't have a real estate license and a mortgage license. Many mortgage companies, after I got my mortgage license again, they wouldn't hire me because I had both licenses. So because
everybody tightened up after the recession, it got even worse.
Everybody's
like, forget this. Yeah, lenders went to jail. Yeah,
correct. They went to. I mean, it was like the Wild West. It was wild. Right. And so there's a lot of people that kept telling me I couldn't do. But there's companies that are in my market that are bigger companies that do all things. It's, they run title, they have mortgage, they have insurance, and there's definitely a way. So I kept kind of digging, ended up finding a place that allowed me to hang both licenses because I'm still running the real estate team, and then just started originating loans. And so then we started really like putting pressure on growing the mortgage company. We were in the retail space for about 2.5 years before we said, you know what, let's go into the broker space. Let's own the entire thing. Let's have the ability to build out JVs for agents if we want to build that out. Let's go grow into multiple markets. And that's kind of where we're at now with really growth and expansion on how big we can grow. And the cool part is we can go grow a real estate team, and we have mortgage right behind it, title right behind it, insurance right behind it. So we spend a lot of money on lead generation, but we have so many revenue streams coming from one transaction that it just makes a whole hell of a lot of sense.
So let me ask you these two questions. First is a conspiracy theory, and second is more of a tactical question. So do you think that, I mean, there's so much money in both, right? A real estate transaction creates significant revenue. A mortgage transaction creates significant revenue. Are mortgage lenders trying to keep realtors out of the space, and realtors trying to keep mortgage lenders out of the space by creating like that false narrative of like, you can't do it?
Well, I think it's partly that. It's part like I'm very much a guy that goes up to the line. Like, you can't tell me I can't do something like that.
You live in the gray a little bit, yeah.
Oh, 1,000%. And so I'm like, all right, well, how can I do? Unless my attorney tells me, Daniel, there's no way that you can do that. I'm like, no, we're having the conversations around how do I get this done and how do I grow this? Lenders are shady. Lenders don't want realtors to know how much money they make. We're in a very much a one-sided relationship with these lenders, right? Like, I work really hard to lead generate and convince the person to go work with me and go show houses on my Saturday and Sunday, and all they need is a loan. I'm like, hey, can you take an app? I can't right now. I'm out at lunch. Like, it's so irritating. And there's no way a lender can feed it back one-to-one necessarily. But at the same time, it's like, then you want to start like hiding how much money you're making. But there's one quarter I sent like over $7 million of closings to a lender. This is right before I got licensed. I'm like, hey, what did you make? We got to look at like a $7,000 a month MSA. We're sharing marketing and stuff. And I'm like, hey, what did you make on that? What do you make per loan? You know, I have expenses and I'm like, oh, you're full of shit. Okay. So he told me at that point it was 1%. And I'm like, if it's 1% and you're hemming and hawing like this, you're at least at 1.5, if not 2. And then little did I learn when I got licensed, a lot of these lenders, they're making 4 points, 5 points on government loans. They're making more than the real estate agents do on a government loan. So when your lenders, you have a great conventional buyer and they're pushing them into a government product, it's because there's larger margins and more money for them to be made. It's crazy.
So there's so much to unpack there in what you said. Number one, I think it's whenever you look at an ancillary product, there will be traditional thinking individuals, probably even some well-meaning individuals who are trying to dissuade you out of fear of liability. And then there'll be even shadier individuals who want to keep you from it out of fear of competition. It's not, the takeaway is not, I don't want to get involved in anything that has risk. The takeaway is, how do you mitigate the risk by structuring it correctly and saying, you know, working with legal professionals to say like, hey, I understand there's some risk here. How do I do this with a minimization of risk? Let me ask you this, your lead gen stuff, I've always believed that lead gen is best done from the real estate side, because the mortgage is the unsexy side of it, right? Like, nobody walks on a car dealership and says, what are your auto rates? Right. They walk in a car dealership and say, hey, I want to see a Lexus, right? So like, the house is the Lexus. Is that how you guys approach it? Most of your lead gen stuff is done on the real estate side to feed the mortgage side? Yeah.
So it's interesting because I've tried really hard over the last 3 or 4 years to get my lenders to lead generate, and it just doesn't work. Like, lenders work really hard, but they work very differently than real estate agents work. So when you call somebody that inquired on a house and wants to go see homes, and you're talking about interest rates, it's a tough conversation. Usually it stops at that moment. So what we've done to create more of a streamlined process is we created a warm transfer process with our team. So when our agents are downstairs lead generating, getting people on the phone, following up with leads that we produce, then they have a waterfall number. They call one number. It rings all of our loan officers at once, and the person who can take the app takes the app at once. You do a lot of internet lead generation, and like, once these people want to pull credit, you got to go. We don't have time to wait. Right. We got to go right now. And that has really increased our conversion pretty significantly, and allowed us to keep our clients stickier. because when you're chasing the lender to take an app for you, or the lender's like, I'm busy, let me just send them the link and have them fill it out and I'll follow up, or they play those games, it messes up my conversion as an agent. When I have 2.8%, 2.5% on the line, like I'm dropping everything that is happening right now to get this person to get this app done and help them get that pre-approval, because then I know I have something real, so I can continue to invest my time there. And we know what numbers we're actually looking at, what different programs we have. Like my level of service is really high, really over communicative when I was selling, and that's how my agents operate. Everyone downstream needs to be that. My title reps need to be like that. My insurance company needs to be like that. My mortgage company needs to be like that. And we're in this weird, unique industry where we need other people to help us close a deal, but they don't necessarily value the referral as much as we value the referral. And so it's a lot of the ancillary play for me wasn't the money. The money is awesome at the end of the day, but it's really the control of the process and then the control of my client experience. If I'm able to do those two things at a really high level, then I'm going to be blessed enough to be able to make more compensation through these additional ancillary businesses.
So talk about this, because I think what you said is so powerful. It's not solely about the finances that can be created from this. It's about the streamlining of the process.
Correct.
I've seen a lot of individuals, like we've interviewed a lot of agents that'll show up and say like, hey, I want to be a realtor. I want to be on your team, whatever it is. I'm a lender as well as at a conflict of interest. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. What type of business are you doing? And they're like, well, I did, like 4 purchases last year on the real estate side. And I did like 10 loans. And I'm like, technically you're neither right now. Like you're not killing it as an agent. You're not killing it as a mortgage professional. So most of what I talk about on this podcast is like from a team leader's perspective. Like from your evaluation, is there a unit number? Is there a dollar volume? Like at what point should somebody running a small team or a massive top producing individual look at it and go, I'm much better off to be in ownership position in a mortgage option or a title option or an insurance option than I am on an MSA?
Yeah.
Versus like to some degree, if you're only kicking out 10 units and you can get a lender to do an MSA for $2,500, you're probably better off, because if you're only doing 10 units, you'll go to 5 and 5 at that point. So when you advise people, at what point, unit count, whatever, do you advise like, man, you'd be much better off owning your own situation than on an MSA?
Well, there's 3 ways to monetize it, right? You have the MSA where we're sharing marketing expenses, and we're essentially helping and sharing the financial cost of doing that. You have a JV relationship where I own it, so I can still make profit from it, but I'm not driving it. And then you have the full ownership of building it from the ground up. I'm very much a control freak, so I looked at all of the options. We were doing the MSA, but there was more money on the table, and I'm still running into problems with being able to service our clients. I mean, we generate 1,100 or 1,200 leads a month. And there's no infrastructure of any lender that I met that is going to be able to service my agents at a really, really high level. And so I think it's definitely go the MSA route. The JV route sucks oftentimes because you're hiring really inexperienced loan officers and paying them really small amounts to be able to do the loans, because there has to be enough revenue to share with everybody. And it's hard. It's hard to do that in the mortgage space. I would go MSA all day long unless you want to grow, expand, and scale. And that was my vision on getting into multiple markets, getting into multiple states. I'm on a mission to go grow $1 billion business, and all of my ancillaries are going to be eating on all of the hard work from our real estate teams.
I love it. So you've got mortgage. What are you in title? Are you in insurance? Are you in solar? Are you in pest control? Like where are you at?
So we're in own mortgage, JV on title, looking at possibly starting our own title company the next 6-ish months. Insurance is we're finalizing some operating agreements. What's interesting about insurance is, as an agent, you pitch insurance, no one listens to you. It's just not your lane. But when our loan officers pitch, you need a homeowner's policy, here's my rep, it's just like clockwork. It's crazy. So that opened up just because we started doing the mortgage. And then we have an investment arm. So those are like the investment in my world is kind of an ancillary, because we do different things. Like we don't really want to take retail listings. We want to acquire it, wholesale it. We want to play that Brett Tanner game.
The hierarchy of the listing game.
Absolutely. We want to play that game. So I look at it almost like an ancillary as well, because it's feeding our listing business when they don't want a cash offer. And then when they do want a cash offer from our agents, it's feeding the investment space as well. I don't really know what's next. We've thought about moving companies. We've thought about
solar's where it's at. Have you looked at solar?
I haven't looked at how to get into it. I've heard about that, but I haven't looked at how to actually. Is like an affiliate type relationship?
Yeah, so we've got a partnership with a guy that allows us to offer solar to our clients. It's kind of a win-win because right now, I think the tax credit is like 24% of the solar project is what the client receives. So, and with all the power issues happening in the Southwest United States, like California's got massive issues, which could bleed into Nevada as far as power is concerned because we're on the same grid. Sure, Colorado's on the same grid. So, like, from a pitch perspective to the client, it's get energy independent, get a 24% tax credit, and lower your power payment.
Yep.
It's like an absolute no-brainer. And then that way, if the real estate company can participate in that as an ancillary, like it's a massive victory of what you're bringing to your clients, which is good.
Yeah. I'm gonna pick your brain on that because that'd be it's an easy layup because we're already doing all of the work anyway.
So talk about jockey finding. So those of, I mean, you and I live in the Brett Tanner world, so we talk about this all the time, right? Like every time. Yeah. So I don't remember if it was at Tanner's thing or if I think we were together when we heard this possibly. But anyways, somebody had said that for every one integrator, there's 4 visionaries. So like everybody wants to be a visionary. You go on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, it's like I'm the thought leader, I'm the visionary. No one says visionary, right? But everybody wants to be the CEO. The COO is the much harder role to find. Somebody who takes your idea and actually turns it into something. So what is your process? We call it jockey, but like, what is your process for partner finding on these ancillary products? Because for every Daniel Dixon, there's got to be, like, for every Walt, there's got to be a Roy. For every Steve Jobs, there's got to be a Woz. Like, how do you find your integrators?
So honestly, it was a lot of me doing. Like, my vision of going a mortgage company was I'm going to go get licensed and I'm going to originate. So a lot of the stuff that I touch, like I want to touch, I want to understand, I want to know what's going on before I go give that to somebody else and hold it accountable and so on. So that's very much a me thing in the mortgage space. Insurance, we thought about that as well. I think Brett's talked a lot about finding the person that wants to wake up every day to go drive this business. And honestly, we've failed at it multiple times. We're still struggling with our growth. If we could just, build a business on a pro forma and just have a vision on how everything works, like, it would be incredible. But finding the humans that have the same drive, that have the same ambition, that see where we're going and want to be a part of that mission is super difficult to find. We're working on top grading all of that and helping get to the next level. I've lucked out with Dominique, who's my COO. Now, I would argue a COO is more important than a sales manager, more important than salespeople. Having your systems dialed in, having someone who's detail oriented, who's crossing every T and dotting every I. We would have a fraction of what we had if it wasn't for Dominique. And she's a unicorn. She's my little sister. She's my cousin, but I call her my little sister because I basically raised her. And she runs operations for all of our businesses. So when we have chaos or somebody step out, she's stepping in. Cool, I got another job, and she has a piece of all of our business lines. One of the great parts of working with family is they're loyal and that they'll always be here. The downside is it's hard to hold them crazy accountable sometimes, but she's very much
hard to fire them too.
It's hard to fire them too. Yeah, absolutely. She's very much like me. So she's, I don't know. I think I've learned recently actually that I think the CEO is almost like a COO as well. You've got to understand the ops side of it. You may not be super talented in it, but salespeople, their job is to lead people. They need to be a leader of people. And I've messed it up with my sales managers and having them do some ops stuff and owning their systems and things like that. And it's not working well. So we're kind of trying to separate now. If you're a leader of people, your number one job is to go deal with people. You deal with people all day, every day. You love them, you grow them, you inspire them, and then everything else is going to be handled. Ops, systems, processes, all of those things that they are implementing for the team. So
when we were at Tanner in Park City, I asked a question, and what's annoying, you get in that room and like you ask a question and somebody who probably doesn't execute at the level you execute starts speaking as if they've figured out the whole world, right? Anyways, I asked this question about nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of geeking out on this principle because, like, when we look at our real estate team, we've hired hundreds of agents through the years, and the interview will be the exact same, like their whys will be the exact same, like everything's the exact same. And then some people come in and kill, and some people come in and fail. And I'm like, dude, I can't figure this out. And so I asked Brett, and he kind of punted the question a little bit, but where do you lie on that? How many of your people do you feel like, man, I helped them go from a non-performer to killing it, versus how many people you brought in and you're like, I tweaked it a little bit, but man, they naturally are just killers. Where are you at on that argument?
We breed all of them. What we talk about a lot inside of our world is it's the process over the person. So we can plug and play more. If you have the grit and you have that fire in your belly and you plug in here, you're going to be wildly successful. But
right.
Brett's beat into my head that they're all going to leave. So can't get to, we're going to build them. We're going to grow them. We're going to love them. We're going to teach them. We're going to do all the things, but they're still going to leave. So because of that, we've got to make sure that we are dialing ourselves in and making sure that we can plug in a brand new agent, get them into production quickly, and then continue to grow them. And then now we're starting to learn leadership things. And the people that we've never lost, like a crazy top producer in our world, I think because my vision's so big that I don't want someone that's with us for 2 or 3 years. Like, I don't want you showing houses anymore. You should be leading people at that time, because that is the greatest and highest use of your time. I know you're great at showing houses, but convert leads on the phone, have your junior agents go run it and make the commission to be able to do more, pour into more people, grow a bigger organization. We allow to have like teams inside of our team. And so that's kind of what we're building now inside of our world, is allowing the autonomy for our top producers to start leveraging them, getting their time back, allowing them to still make their money, and be able to continue to grow and expand and thrive with the company.
So here's a good question. And I think we kind of hit on the first couple of steps. So they said, what's the first 2 to 3 steps to start mortgage, title, insurance? It's, like we've talked about, number one has to be production. There has to be production there. If you're theoretically starting a title company or a mortgage company to theoretically work future business that doesn't exist from a real estate team, that's not smart. Number two, I would say you probably have to have lead gen, right? You have to have a constant flow of business. But once you've established those two, like, all right, we're doing units, we've got people coming through the pipe, what's next? Like, would you recommend somebody starts with a JV on the mortgage side? Would you recommend that they, look at, there's the model mortgage and things like that out there where it's kind of plug and play. Like, once you've established a lead flow and production, what would you say is the next step for somebody?
I think an MSA is where most agents should live. We would still be in an MSA if we had the ability to continue to grow and put our fingerprints on building the process for the mortgage person. I don't recommend anybody go start a mortgage company. I don't recommend very many people go get licensed. Like, again, I had that mortgage background, so I knew how to do a loan. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I was humbled with right away, getting licensed, right? But I still had that mortgage background. I understand DTI. I understood how to be creative with the financing and pay off debt and do some of these additional things. But I think for the majority of agents, find a really good lender that's going to support your business and go generate leads together, share the expense on leads, and be clear with your expectations on what you need for your group. Now, as you start breaking their system, then you start having another conversation around how do you grow together, or what is the next step of where I want to get to. I think if you're going to go the route on starting a mortgage company or getting licensed, make sure you have a loan officer that knows what to do. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I was humbled with. I love learning. So I look at failures and falling on my face and stumbling as an opportunity to learn and grow. So it was just a matter of time before we got it right. And so that was okay with me, but there's a lot of stress that you're taking on. I think for most agents, if you're not out of production, just be in the MSA and just keep feeding the loan officer business and share those marketing expenses. I wouldn't have any of this if I was still actually working deals or doing loans or any of that stuff. I can work on my business rather than in my business, which is game changing when you're thinking about the growth of the organization and where you actually want to go.
Well, because you and I are Tanner trained, or whatever little model we want to come up with. I mean, he beats into our head P&L, right? The cool thing about an MSA is it's just P. There's no L. So if somebody said, I've got an MSA for 10K a month, I mean, to generate 10K a month by owning a mortgage company, I mean, you might have to bring in 50K or 30K to offset expenses and compensation and stuff like that. So if you're getting 10, it's just straight profit. Last question, and then we'll let. Oh, go ahead.
Back on that, I think one of the areas that I'm learning to grow in is more of a partnership type of model. I mean, you and Taylor do it incredibly well, and a lot of things that I've done has been, all right, well, I'm just going to go do. Daniel's going to go handle, put it on my back, give me the ball, coach. I'm going to go do it. And it's not sustainable. And so if I could go back again, I probably would have built more partnerships earlier. If you're getting 10 grand in an MSA, like, you're solid. The people problem, the dealing with the one-on-ones, the accountability, the people leaving you, all of that stuff is all you have to take on when you want to go try to build something on your own. And when you have partnerships and someone else is going to drive those things, yeah, you're sharing some profits, but you're also buying some time back. JV models work really well in that sense, where it's more quiet and you're just getting your own piece of the company. So you're getting your checks every quarter and you don't have the accountability and the chaos that you do with owning and running a company.
Well, and I think to your point, there's been points in our careers where probably Taylor and I have both been hit up by people like, dude, why are you in a partnership? It doesn't really make sense. Why don't you just run the thing yourself? Yeah. But the bigger our world gets, the more gratitude I have for partnership, because like, if you think about what Taylor and I are doing now, I'm running retail and our network growth. Taylor's running our wholesale, property acquisition, fixes and flips and all owner finance deals. And he runs our ancillary products. And so we had to create a world big enough for two of us to live. But if I thought about running retail, network, wholesale, and ancillary by myself, I mean, I think I would burn out. It's kind of cool to have a partner that you can be completely vulnerable with and be like, bro, I'm not good at this, or I'm struggling here, or whatever. It's harder to have that with employees. Yeah. To where, like, if you got a partner, you're like, bro, I don't want to do this. Let's pivot. All right. Last but not least, like, what's next for you? Like, where are you going? I know you're in Colorado. Have you already begun expansion? Like, what's next in the Daniel Dixon empire?
Yeah, we're in Colorado Springs. We're going to be going into northern Colorado probably next 30 days or so. We starting our lead gen channels and things. And then we're going to get into Dallas, and Dallas is first, either Q4 or Q1 next year, so we can start growing and expanding in Texas. And we want to keep. I think that the thing that's changing with our world is we need to identify people that we can partner with. Again, back to the partnership conversation, so we can really grow a lot faster. We can't go duplicate what we do in Denver in Dallas. We can't go hire new agents and train them and get them into production. Like, we have the ecosystem here to be able to do it at our hub, but we need to go find more talented individuals to partner with that will allow us to go bigger, harder, faster. So by the end of next year, we want to be into 10 additional markets. Again, the real estate business makes all the ancillaries go. So we got to go build that. And once we build that, then everything else will come down funnel for title, mortgage, insurance, investment, all those things.
Nice. Well, listen, I'm grateful you did this. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I'll bet against the 49ers, but I'm not betting against Daniel Dixon. Grateful for you, man. I'm grateful for your collaboration, partnership. I love hitting you with ideas, and you know, that's what people don't understand about real estate. Like, there's so many great people out there, and if you just stop being so freaking competitive and realize, like, man, there's good people that have solved problems I'm facing, and I maybe have solved some problems they're facing. And if we would all just collaborate together, we'd end up building something much bigger collectively than we ever could individually. So
absolutely, I think there's so much ego in this industry where it's like, you know, whose dick is bigger, whose chest is bigger in a room. And I think what I love is the collaboration with people that are in my tribe. That's like, I don't care what brand you're with. I don't care what you're doing. Like, even people still, Steve Pilkington's one of my really, really close friends, and he's in my market. And we still vibe together and talk about how both of our businesses can grow. And here we're doing this. We'll look at this thing and look at, like, I don't know. I think our industry would be so much better if we looked at people as friends and like put our arms together. And there's almost never a chance I'm competing with an agent I know.
100%.
It's like almost never happens. So why do we look at each other as competitors and not as just collaborators to be able to go build some cool stuff together?
100%. All right, man. Grateful for you. Thank you.
Good to see you, brother.